That's right, we're starting this one on Facebook Marketplace, where every fun small engine related project begins. We have a $400 walk behind, it's actually a hydro walk behind, 52-inch MTD walk behind mower. I actually got this guy down to $150. We got a video of it running. How did I get it down to 150? Well, he says it dies when the blades get engaged. So I said, are you sure it's running on 2 cylinders? He said, I don't know. I said, well, it might have a blown connecting rod. I could offer 150. And he said, okay. So let's go pick it up. Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. I'm glad you're interested in checking out this walk behind mower. This should be a pretty good deal. So we're going to take about a 15-minute ride here. It's just a couple towns over, and let's see what we go and get. Just got home. There it is. Now we'll deal with all this tomorrow. That's all I got for today, but one other thing. Yep, we got another machine for $40. What is this? It's a sickle bar mower. It's got a guard on it so you can't see the blades. Oh yeah, look at that old thing. Troy-Bilt MTD. We got like a whole MTD thing going on over here. Actually, that Troy-Bilt's old enough to actually be a Troy-Bilt. All right, pretty good score. Oh yeah. What do you say we move these things away from the road so we can hear one another? Yeah. Squeeze these handles if you can. Oh, they're far away for your little fingers. Here, I'll help you out. I'll squeeze one. Then squeeze that one. Then it rolls. A little. Oh, there you go. Yeah, you figured it out. We got him off the trailer, as you saw. I had a little helper with me. Here's a better look at him. All right, so what's the story with this? Because I didn't tell you about that in the intro. Well, of course, when I get there, he's like, hey, are you interested in the sickle bar mower? I'm like, yeah. And so took me to one of his sheds, and you know, he had like a snow blower, a DR trimmer, and then way in the back, sickle bar mower. And he said he broke the pull string, but it was running. And he said, do you want it for 50 bucks? I said, how about 40? He said, okay. So that's how we got that. But apparently these can go for several $100s. There's someone has one listed. It's a Troy-Bilt. It's a little bit different, maybe slightly newer, only by a couple years. Actually, it might be the same one. Anyway, $1,000, and it's also missing the pull cord. So kind of funny. I don't think it's gonna go for 1,000. But anyway, this thing. So I think I told you the story with it. When you engage the blades, supposedly the engine dies. So let's test that out. And then oh, one other thing, so valve cover, one of the valve cover bolts is missing. He pointed that out, and because I was there, I was saying, you know, maybe it's down on a cylinder, and he said, oh yeah, you know, maybe there is a bolt missing. And I don't think that would cause it, but just something he pointed out. Anyway, let's fire it up, see what happens when we engage the blades. Well, it reminds me a lot of the Ferris mower I just had. So, similar thing, it definitely sounds like it's down on power. I bet only one cylinder is operating. And the key switch, when you turn it off, there's a big delay. Like the spark plugs are not receiving ground to ground out spark. It seems like it's just cutting fuel with the fuel solenoid. So, besides that, I mean, it moves great. It's actually really fast. He has these safeties disengaged, so again, that was kind of an issue with the Ferris, if you remember, because you had to keep these engaged in order for it to run properly. So I wonder if that's a lingering issue. You can see like it's supposed to hit a safety right there, but it just simply does, it's not in line. And yeah, I don't know what's going on with that. So let's test the cylinders and see what we have. Have the spark plugs out. Here's the left side. Hard for you to tell, but looks a little sooty, but not bad. The right side is fouled. It's definitely pretty wet, so it doesn't seem like it's firing. It's also cold. I just ran it for a second, but this is warm, and this doesn't really feel like anything at all. So that, I'm already leaning towards that side not working. But since we have the plugs out, let's see if these cylinders are connected by a connecting rod. Okay, that one definitely has a connecting rod. I'm moving the engine over by hand on the top. I don't know if you can see that. Let's try the other side. Uh-oh. Yeah, I can actually push the cylinder. Yep. So we have a blown connecting rod on this side. Ah, that's bad news. Oh man, too bad. What a sweet little engine. It's definitely worth exploring because these Vanguards are quite nice. So we should take the engine off and open her up. But I know on walk behinds, it's not the easiest thing to get these engines off. So yeah, we got ourselves a project, everybody. It's not going to be one of those, simple fix, just a spark plug or a coil. Nope, we're going to be taking this engine off the machine. We're going to look into the connecting rod. We're going to see if it's worth repairing. Where to begin? Should just be 4 bolts, right? And then the engine will lift right on out. Or we could do like they do on YouTube where you just snap and then the engine's off. Are you ready? No. Never works for me. I don't understand that trick. Alright, we're going to have to do it the hard way. Let's try to figure it out. Part of me is wondering if I should try to remove the deck. That looks like 3 3/4 nuts there. It's going to be the same on the other side. That might be a nice way to go. Let me see what's on the other side of those nuts. I don't know if I have to get a backup wrench on there. No, they're carriage. So let's get this belt cover off. The other side is broken. Okay, belt looks great. There's two belts. Should be able to remove this one. Well, it's tight, but should be able to remove that one pretty easily. Everything looks good under there. There's a tensioner for this setup. There's a tensioner on that side. So, alright. Yeah, I think I'm going to start with the deck, believe it or not. And then I should be able to tip this up very easily and get to everything underneath, or I could get to like lifting it with the chain hoist here, but I don't really want to lift it with all this weight on it like that. It doesn't sound like the best plan to me. So yeah, let's try to remove this 52-inch mowing deck. Wanted to remove that wheel to get better access to these. On this side we have the battery box, and it's bolted down. I could probably remove it, but I thought that was a little easier. Let's see if we can zip these off. Already got the wheel off on this side. There's a lot of pressure on those bolts now, but should be able to get them out, I guess. Well, I did employ the chain hoist here, and that really helped. I was able to just kind of wiggle things until each of the bolts came out. But right now, impossible to do with one hand, but this mowing deck is free. This is a heavy-duty unit. MTD Pro. Can't say I've ever seen one before, but yeah, pretty well made. So I could definitely see the 4 engine mounting bolts. They're not hard to reach. The PTO though is, there's the bolt, and then you have this huge bracket that supports the hydros, and that's in the way of the bolt. At least it looks that way. I don't know, I have to attempt it to see, but yeah, I'm gonna have to get that PTO off in order to get the engine out. I mean, I might be able to just loosen, yeah, I should be able to loosen it as long as it unthreads all the way, even if I can't drop the PTO, and then I can undo the engine bolts and lift the engine up. That should work. Just gonna put down the camera and try some things out, but this was finger tight. That's a little scary. So yeah, can get that out. Locking washer and a big spacer washer, and that drops out just like that. Got the engine loose now. Got the 4 bolts out. They were difficult because they have a lock nut on the top end, and it's really hard to get anything in there to hold that nut still while you back out in the bolt. Alright, just taking off the starter, I wanted to take note of this. It's got 2 wires that go to the starter. It's got a real thick gauge wire and then a thin red one, and they both go on the starter. I don't know if I've ever seen that before, but that's what's going on there. Just wanted to document that for myself. So a couple other cables and things to detach, and this engine should come right out. One other thing to document for myself, I have this ground wire that goes to this 10mm bolt. It's right near the oil fill. Just can't miss that when I reinstall. All right, everyone. It was just yesterday, really just a few hours ago, that I purchased this machine with high expectations and very hopeful that it was just going to be a simple fix. But here we are now, pulling the engine to take it apart to see if we can't replace a connecting rod. All right, we're ready to pull it out. Oh, of course, there's one more wire. Ah, we're good. Okay, there we go. Well, kind of what you might expect for an engine with a blown connecting rod. Doesn't seem to be much oil in there. I didn't check when I got it home. Shame on me, but we'll see what was in it when we drain it all out. All right, we're set up on the bench here, a little bit more comfortable on my back. I'm filthy dirty from crawling around on the ground. This is not pretty stuff, but I want to get this thing open so we can at least check on it and see what parts we can order. Got the drive pulley that we need to remove here. Yeah, it's pulling up. Yep, that's it. When things go flying, then you know you got it. Alright, who wants to see in this engine like I do? There's a couple of smaller bolts. I guess I'm going to have to take those out. Alright, oddly they're 10mm. I don't know exactly what they're doing, but I don't think I've ever worked on a Vanguard before, so definitely never taken one apart. There we go. Alright, this should be a nice close look for you and I. Oh yeah, we have some carnage. Okay. It's not good in there. Not good at all. Wow. There's more too. I hope you like carnage. There is plenty of it in this engine. There's that piece that's lodged in there. It's like just missing the counterweight. I'm sure the counterweight lodged it in there. You can actually see the bolt for the connecting rod. Hopefully there's no crack in the case. It doesn't seem like it. Cut the muffler off. I'm curious about this valve cover though. I want to see why it only had one bolt. Wonder if it sheared off. No, seems like someone just forgot. Maybe it is sheared off in there. Yeah. A couple threads though. Could get something on there. Just have to be a shorter bolt. Alright, we're working to take pretty much most of this engine apart here. We've got to take off the shroud, all sorts of interesting nuts and bolts here. Gotta get this whole thing off. There's a lot to this Vanguard. It is a bit more complicated than I'm used to, but got this pretty good and cleaned up. Not seeing anything too dangerous besides this one piece of metal still lodged in there. Ooh, it's actually a little loose. Anyway, just gotta inspect everything really closely. I'd like to get every single component out of there. We'll see what I can do. It really is incredible how complicated this engine is. There are so many bolts to undo, you know, to get access to the head. Brackets for the carb, shields, you know, there's so much junk packed in because there's so many things covering the cooling fins. I just don't quite see how this is a great design, and can kind of see how one side got cooked. I mean, obviously there really wasn't much oil in here, so I'm sure the guy just ran it low in oil, but still, I'm peeling just gunk out of here with my fingers, and it's like sandwiched in there. So alright, I do want to try to get this head off. Let's see if we can get that done. More documentation for me. Aluminum push rod on the lower side, on the flywheel side, steel push rod. Well, didn't think it was supposed to rain. I just had those machines all nice and dried. There's someone riding their bike down the street, poor kid. Yeah, at least I'm inside. It's just, it's too many pieces. It's too much, Vanguard. It's too much. Alright. Yeah. So, looks great. Yeah, it really does. I don't see anything. So let's see if we can push that up and get that piston out of there. So this project is absolutely pushing the limits of my organizational skills. So with the crankshaft here, off camera, I did a lot of muriatic acid and some light sandpapering, and we saved the crankshaft, which was like $250 to $350 to replace. So yeah, that's a big win right there. So I decided to go ahead and order a whole new assembly here: piston, rings, connecting rod. This one is fine, rings are good. Here are the parts I'm getting. I know you can't see, but again, a whole it's part 844540. It's a piston and rod assembly, and then I'm getting the crankcase gasket, which is 846487. Everything in the sump is great, no problems there. I do have a ring sitting inside here just to check the clearance of the ring gap, which you can't see because of the shadow. I haven't put a feeler in there, but it looks perfect. It's really tight. I don't think anything's excessively worn here. I can see, you know, just a little bit of cross hatching still in these cylinders, so I think we're going to be fine. Nothing besides a few little dings inside the case. Obviously I power washed all this so I could really inspect it. So things are looking super clean here. I should probably order new seals, huh? Yeah, let me look up those, because at this point those would be really easy to change, so I'll do seals as well. Yeah, those are the parts I'm going to go ahead and order. It's for these two things right now, $153, so kind of significant. It's still sort of a gamble, but I do know that this engine runs. It runs on one cylinder, so I think we're going to be okay. I think we just need to rebuild this piston. So, you know, there's still a chance. There's no compression on that side, but for let's say $70, I guess it's worth the risk. It's a couple days later here, and I have a reason to pick up the camera again, but I did want to show you the ring gap clearance. So I repositioned the ring. Now this is the old ring in the bad cylinder, and I got a feeler gauge here, and it's 16 thou. So from what I could look up online, anywhere from 10 thou to 30 thou is what you're looking for. So again, this is with the old ring, like the ring that was on that piston. So I guess what I'm trying to say there is the cylinder wall is not damaged, it's not worn. Was this thing run low in oil? Pretty much undoubtedly, right? But it looks like that connecting rod gave up relatively quick, and we were able to save the shaft, and we just need to replace some parts. So speaking of parts, let me reposition you and I'll show you what we got. Well, I can't believe how quick this arrived in the mail. I ordered this off eBay, you know, which anyone who uses eBay, it's great for parts, but shipping is a lot longer than Amazon. Several days, 5 days is not uncommon. This came less than 24 hours later. So let's just show what we got here. New connecting rod. New piston. And inside this is, of course, our set of rings and the clip to connect it all together. So let's start assembling this new stuff. Okay, let's go over some instructions. This whole part is called a piston rod assembly. It's part number 844540 if you're interested. And we do have instructions, so and it's important to follow them because we are working on cylinder number 1, and they are labeled in the crankcase. So I've already paid attention to that, and we're going to assemble this all for figure 4 here. So it says piston pin is a slip fit in both piston and rod. If piston and rod are for number 1 cylinder, assemble as shown in figure 4. So we're going to follow figure 4. It says rod caps are not interchangeable. Do not mix caps. I guess with meaning like the size. It's like one side fits. You can't interchange them. Anyway, so it says remove the rod cap. So I've done that. And it says to be careful of the thrust faces. So I'll be careful of the inside thrust bearings in there, to not even really touch them if you can. It says oil cylinder bore, piston skirt, piston rings, piston pin, and crank pin. So I'm going to put on some gloves and we're going to get that done. It says using ring compressor tool number 19070, which I do not have, install piston and rod and cylinder bore with notch in piston toward flywheel side of engine. Install number 1 piston first. Cylinders are marked number 1 and number 2. Yep. So we're gonna. So this is figure 1. This is the tool they want you to have. Yeah, I don't have that, but I do have a ring compressing tool. It's just not like that thing. The rings go in a specific manner. One is tapered. The center ring is tapered, so you have to make sure that we look at the rings closely and get that right. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of the gist of it. The rest is just like rotate the crankshaft until it gets installed, and you gotta, you know, you're basically just putting the pieces together. You gotta put this in, gotta put your locking pin or spring clip in there. It's not too crazy. You just gotta make sure everything's oriented the right way and the rings are put in correctly. So just in case I wasn't clear before, or you couldn't see figure 4 here, the connecting rod says out 1 on that side, and it says out 2 on this side. So if you're working on the number 1 cylinder, you want to have it oriented this way. Install your piston and make sure that the mark on the piston head is going to point towards the flywheel. So it's going to go into the engine this way. My flywheel's on the opposite side where the magneto and flywheel are over there. Hopefully that makes sense. That's how this goes in. So I haven't put my rings in yet. I have started to oil up some things, but I'm probably not going to show this whole thing. Just to let you know, I'm going to try to just get it installed. I don't want this whole video to be about an engine rebuild. Anytime I've done that, nobody watches the video. Like, even small engine guys apparently only want to deal with the outside of the engine. So I don't know why that's not interesting to people, but so we're going to try to keep this about the MTD walk behind mower, but I do need to rebuild the engine here. This is just a part of small engine repair. Sometimes you have to deal with the small engine. Just a little messy update here. Got some oil seals in, sump gasket, new piston, used piston, we're in. So just gonna put this sump on now, but just wanted to let you know that we're doing okay. New parts have arrived and we are assembling. Well, I told you we'd be skipping a lot of the process here. Got the engine pretty much all put back together. Just a little bit of the air box there. Just left that off because I have to do things like the choke and throttle cables, and that will be in the way. But everything went really well. It took a long time. I've been working for hours on it, honestly. Just kind of on and off, walking the dog, whatever, playing with the kids. But yeah. Let's see if we can get this mounted at least, because I want to test it a bit. I want to test for compression on the dead side before we really get too crazy here. I mean, we already went too crazy, but before we at least before we attach the mowing deck, which will take a significant amount of work here. So yeah, let's get it mounted and test for compression. All right, guys, we have the engine sort of mounted. Electrical's hooked up, fuel line, I got oil in it. All the cables are hooked up. Let's see what happens here. Get some fuel flow. Maybe we'll just give it a little squirt of spray. Just broke the throttle cable. Not the I broke the choke cable. Well, not firing off. So I had this little wire grounded here. There's a tab for it, but I don't remember that wire when I uninstalled this engine. So I just took that off and then the engine popped off a bit. So let's try this again with the camera on. All right, here we go. Well, it's gonna make a liar out of me. Not throttling up, something with the governor. News. So I know some of you probably don't like seeing me pull those spark plugs like that, but it's just kind of a quick way to do it. Dangerous though, you get shocked a bit. I just don't really mind. It always smokes a lot more when you finally get that other cylinder going. Alright, we gotta figure out why it's not revving up. I might have adjusted the governor wrong, or I might have the throttle hooked up wrong. There we go. I just have the throttle cable hooked up a little incorrectly. I don't know why this is... Oh no, that's correct. Yeah. Man, this thing is quiet and smooth. Oh, that is sweet. Okay, it's quite a while later, but my choke cable came in, and I have the original choke cable in my left hand here. So the choke cable is one of these generic ones. It has no S-bend at the end of the cable there. I do have the S-bend tool. Now what an S-bend is, if you don't know, it's where the end of the cable looks like that. So I've been practicing, because I don't bend S's too much. So I was practicing on the opposite end of this cable. So when I make it, it looks a lot worse than the factory. It ends up looking a lot bigger. So that's just with one practice. You know, basically you stick one end of the cable in, there's a little hole, you make a bend, then you make the other bend. It's pretty simple once you get one of these in your hands to figure it out, but I'm gonna try it. We'll try it live with you. So we'll see how we do here after just practicing one time. So we'll make one bend, then we will slot it in, hopefully, and the other. So that's how that came out. Not bad. So that's what we have. Maybe I'll tidy that up a little bit with some pliers. But let's install that. I really want to make sure this engine works properly before I do any more assembly. But I'm going to install choke cable, and then we're going to check compression on both sides. I'm just curious. Obviously it runs, but I'm just curious. Here's the intake. You're looking right here at this kind of brass or gold looking flap. I'll pull on the choke and we'll see if it closes. Alright, I think we're good there. So let's just do another test here. We'll see if this all works. Just have to set the idle, but things are working great. Alright, so this left cylinder is at 150 psi. That is quite good. Okay, and here's the rebuild side. Let's test it. So it's actually dead on the same 150. So I think we had a successful rebuild there on that side. Boy, that thing runs sweet. So I've run into a few little issues, but I've been solving them along the way, and I just really haven't turned on the camera to deal with them. But we had, let's see, underneath the engine we had a tensioner idler pulley that had bad bearings. So this is the one that was bad. Very loose in there, and I replaced that. So everything's good underneath the engine. Got the PTO on. Had to undo the front engine bolts to attach the bracket that keeps the PTO from spinning. You know, you have to kind of anchor it. So I had to undo some things, redo some things, just some real tedious stuff. We had a a kill switch issue. The kill tab was there and that was functional, but it was not functional to the key switch. So just added a little toggle, switch it down, and that's off. Up is run. Obviously you saw the choke cable, put a little plastic lever on the throttle cable before it was just duct taped. What else? I had the anti-backfire solenoid go bad. So I deleted that. Yeah, bunch of little stuff, but basically what I've been trying to do, and I was hoping I could just come out here right away this morning and start putting the deck on, but I had to solve all those issues. What I wanted to do is get this perfectly running before I started to do all that stuff, because you know it's a lot easier to work on the machine like this without everything in the way. So I also dialed in the idle, so it now idles perfectly, starts right up. You always have to use choke though, and shuts off with a switch, charges the battery like you saw. Engine is all bolted down, PTO is on. I think we're ready to go finally, so wish me luck, but I'm gonna start lining up bolts and bolt holes and see if we can't get this deck installed. So this is, you know, getting lined up here. Right now I have no chain hoist on it, no props. This is just sort of sliding the deck in without the wheels on. Definitely looks like I'm gonna have to chalk up something. This thing is really heavy. So it's almost like a two-person job, but you can see, you know, the 3 bolt holes here on each side. Start to see where they gotta go. You know, it's already pretty close, but pretty close is not going to cut it. It's got to be dead on in order to get those bolts through. So yeah, no one wants to see it on film, me struggling to get this on, so I'm just going to try to get some progress, and then I'll just update you guys with like 1 bolt at a time type of thing. It's finally worth turning on the camera here. You can see I have a tow strap. It's wrapped around the frame of this walk behind, like right underneath the engine a couple times, and that's hooked off right there. This is my chain hoist, and I'm able to raise and lower as needed, and I finally got 1 bolt. Actually, I think all 3 of these are pretty well lined up, but that took a long time, probably an hour and a half. I've tried a lot of different things. I've put the wheels on, but just trying to get the height where, you know, everything just kind of slides in. You'd think it'd be easy, but it is not, and I know you could probably tell that by the way this thing came apart. It was not that easy coming apart. So yeah, I can see a little bit of daylight there, like that one's almost lined up. I'm not working on this side yet, but I'm gonna get those bolts and nuts in at least loose, and then we'll try the other side. But yeah, that's a big step right there. All right, got 3 on this side. All right, time to work on the other side. Basically just need these chains here to raise and lower the hoist. And then just start with 1, and you know, once you get 1, you just work on the others. Well, that almost went too smoothly. You know, once we got this thing lined up, that was easy. All right, I'm gonna stop, think about some things, maybe do the belt for the deck before I tighten this down, because I just imagine there's going to be some complications. So yeah, I'm going to pause, probably get a glass of water and think about this, and then we'll continue. Well, this is a big success here, but we do have a problem. The PTO is just constantly engaged. So I mean, luckily I don't think I have to undo anything I just did, because that was like a whole afternoon of struggling here. But I am going to have to probably tip this thing up. I don't know what I did wrong there installing the PTO, but it's just spinning no matter what. I even unplugged it. It's not an electrical thing, it's just going. So yeah, we're close though. See, you got the tires on, the thing wants to move. I mean, I think once we figure that out, you know, maybe it's a keyway issue, maybe I put it in wrong. I don't know. Obviously, it's not electrical because it's just spinning on its own. So, yeah, got to figure that out, but I'm sure we'll get it. Okay, I think I fixed it. I had the PTO upside down, believe it or not. So, well, I'm pulling on this and it's still spinning the engine, but before I had the belt on it, I was able to spin the PTO without it engaging the shaft. So, I don't know, I guess we're gonna have to fire it up to see, but yeah, believe it or not, I had the PTO upside down. And actually, I could tell it's correct now because of the angle of this belt. Before, the PTO pulley was down here a couple inches because it was flipped. But yeah, that's the right way. All right, I'll start it up and get it down and see if it engages the blades correctly. Okay, so something's not right there. I wonder if I don't have it routed correctly. I don't really understand. I don't know. I wonder if that belt is like the wrong belt. It wasn't doing that before, but I don't know if I showed this on camera. When I went to unbolt this PTO initially, this was just finger tight. And I almost wonder if that was their solution to having this pulley be disengaged from the main drive pulley. Or maybe I just have a spacer in there wrong or something. I need, there's a couple washers here. Maybe one of them needs to go in between. I don't know. I probably should look up a parts diagram, see if I can figure out. I feel like I have the PTO correct, but maybe there's supposed to be a washer. Would a washer really do it though? I don't know. Yeah, not sure. Okay, so we're getting this put back together, and just to let you know what I did with the PTO is I swapped some of those washers. So put one washer up top that used to be on the bottom, and now you're seeing that everything works great. So I did have the PTO upside down. That was my own silliness. And then I had some washers out of order on that bolt. So all right, I think it's time to test this thing. I'm gonna do some mowing of the lawn here, although it's starting to rain a bit. And then I think what I'm going to do is clean this up real good, and I'm going to consider painting this because I think I can make this gray look really nice, and also the red. I'm thinking maybe a minimum of painting the gray, but I don't know. We'll see how it cleans up. You can see down there in the bottom of the red could really benefit from a new layer of paint, but yeah. All right, let's fire this thing up. Well, it's the next day and I've been doing some paint prep, and here's the lineup we have. So have some primer, rusty metal primer, regular gray primer, 2 cans of Massey Ferguson red, and 1 can of Massey Ferguson gray. And the gray is going to be for the belt cover here. And for the most part, I ground down all the loose chipping paint. A lot of paint chipped when I was power washing this. And I think I'm going to avoid the midsection here. I'm not going to paint anything in there. This is going to be a real cheap, probably disappointing paint job for some of you all. But I'm basically just trying to make it look a little better. I mean, this thing operates so nice now that, you know, I feel like I can get a little bit more money out of it if it looks more presentable. This deck is in great shape. You know, anyone who actually uses these things would notice that, but a lot of times I sell to people who are first-time buyers or first-time owners for mowers, and they even go for stuff like this. It's like way too much of a machine for them, but that's probably who's going to end up buying this, is someone who's never operated it before. So they want to see everything nice and pretty, best we can. So let's try to cover up some of this chipping paint, especially down here like there. Just got a little bit of primer here, so I'm going to make this stretch, and then we're just going to go for it. Well, okay. She finished up pretty nice, didn't she? So a lot of time lapse there, but you did see me sharpen the blades there. We greased up everything. I got 2 coats of red, 2 coats of gray, and everything got put back together perfectly. And this thing is still running like a top. I love the way this engine sounds. I don't know how it's coming across on camera. You know, I always wonder, but super smooth. Really, really nice. As you can see, there's just one side here where this is like the wrong size bungee. Someone tried to replace it or something, but I don't know. I'm not going to deal with that. Yeah, but I think this paint is good. I mean, obviously this is really shiny stuff, but this Massey Ferguson red came out really good, but it's not overboard, I don't think. You know, sometimes you wonder if the paint is going to match like the age and the condition of the machine. Like, is this too much? But I think it's okay. I do like it. I think it's going to help sell it. Well, everybody, that's a wrap on this 52-inch MTD commercial walk-behind hydro mower. I think this thing is going to be pretty desirable, and I'm thinking of listing it for about, I don't know, $1,200 to $1,500. I don't know if I'll fetch $1,500, but I would like to. But let me know what you think, how much this thing is worth to you, or how much you think it might go for in your area. Be really curious. I hope you guys enjoyed this. This one got pretty nitty-gritty with taking apart an engine, and I don't know how that comes across to you guys if you're interested in that sort of stuff. You know, you get an engine that is only running on one cylinder. If you can fix it, usually, you know, you're gonna have a really nice machine. So just to remind you, I bought that walk behind for $150. I spent about $200 on the piston and the connecting rod, that whole assembly, and all the seals and everything that went along with it. So $350 in purchasing it and the parts, and then miscellaneous stuff like oils and, you know, all that other regular stuff. So I think that's a really good profit if I'm able to sell it for, let's say, $1,300 even, okay? So yeah, this one, I find walk behinds, especially if you can get a hydro, pretty good unit right there. It's kind of like having a zero turn. They're gonna go, they're gonna sell. So thanks everyone for tuning in. Again, my name is Kyle. The channel's called Kyle by the Creek. Thanks for all the subscriptions lately, over 4,000 now, and August was a really good month for my channel. So keep it up, everybody. Like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel, all that good stuff. Spread the word. We're growing a little bit here, and we'll catch you guys on the next one. See ya.